Hello, my name is Kenzie Woodbridge. My pronouns are they and them. I work at the British Columbia Institute of Technology, which is a post-secondary institution in British Columbia, Canada. And I'm here today to talk about your value as a worker. And I have strong opinions, and that's me. I just have lots of strong opinions. But the reason I want to talk about this is I think we tend to value one part of our role, one part of our contribution, much more than we value any other part. And unfortunately, that part is in some ways the most interruptible of our, sources of value, which is to say, we tend to value ourselves as makers. So, when I'm talking about makers, what I mean is that you are producing something, you're producing a product. As tech writers, we produce documentation, whole knowledge repositories, all the things, the product that is that. Developers, software engineers produce the software. And we tend to value that and think that that is like the primary thing that we're contributing, that is the primary thing that we should be valuing in ourselves. But we bring a lot more. And as I said, this is the one that is the most interruptible. And what I mean by that is, first of all, it can be interrupted by interruptions, just by meetings and other kinds of things that happen during a day. But it's also the kind of value that is interruptible by life events, in positive ones, negative ones, mental or physical health challenges for us, for our loved ones, big life changes, moving to a new house, getting married, getting divorced, having a kid, all of those things can cause a disruption in our ability to produce at the levels that we might have been accustomed to producing. And that can be really challenging because at the end of the day, we tend to say things like, oh, I just wasn't very productive today. So I wanted to just remind you that you have other sources of value, of worth in your work. So you are a maker. In many cases, you are producing things. So that's one area. But another area that you produce in is that you are a keep the lights on person, right? Is the battery. That's the metaphor, I guess, for keeping the lights on. What I mean by that is that you are attending meetings and contributing substantively. You're advocating for the user. You are advocating for accessibility. You're advocating for all those things. It might not be producing a product in that moment, but it is part of the value that you're bringing to your organization. Participating in committee work, in equity and diversity initiatives or campaigns or things like that. All of that stuff, the long-term maintenance of the things that we've produced so that they retain the value that we already made. All of that is very important. Work, it's not the same as our maker work, but it still has value. However, that's still another kind of active work. There's work value that we massive sense. So one of the ways that we have value is as a book on the shelf, right? What I mean by that is that you have knowledge, you have experience, and you are a book on the shelf, and your colleagues can come over to you and they can pull your book down off the shelf and read some of that theory. So, and that has value for your organization, has value for your company, even when you are not at your most productive, quote unquote. Another kind of value that you have that isn't always the most active is the, in case of emergency, break glass value, right? Like, when there isn't a crisis going on, the fact that you are equipped and able to deal with a crisis if it does occur, isn't necessarily top of mind value, but it's a value you have. So even on your least productive day, you still have the ability to bring that to bear should the need arise. So this is a value you have even when you're not perfectly producing. And last but not least in my list, but I'm sure you can think of other areas where you're bringing value, is your value as a community member, someone who is a smiling face to your colleagues sometimes, a listening ear if they need it, someone who just says hello and reminds them that, yes, there's a human element to what we're doing and a human element to our workplaces, and that has value too. So I just wanted to remind you that you have more than one source of value, and even on your hardest day, you're still a valuable person, you're still bringing something, you still deserve to be there, get paid, all of that stuff. Love you all. Thank you very much.